I'm standing in front of 1,000 wolves. The Alpha King's eyes are locked on mine. And I just called him a coward. Out loud. In front of everyone. My best friend is whispering, "You're going to die." Oh my God, Kira, you're going to die. But here's the thing. I don't care anymore. Because living in fear isn't living at all. The entire hall has gone silent. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone's staring at me like I've just signed my own death warrant. And maybe I have. The Alpha King steps down from his throne. Each footstep echoes like thunder. He's moving toward me, and I can feel the weight of his power pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. This is it. This is how I die. But then, he smiles. Not the smile you'd expect. Not anger. Not rage. Something else entirely. Something that makes my blood run cold and my wolf sit up and pay attention. And when he opens his mouth, when he makes his declaration, everything I thought I knew about my life shatters. But wait, let me back up. Let me tell you how I got here. Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the channel. I am so excited you're here because this story? This one is absolutely insane. Before we jump in, I have to know, where are you watching from right now? Seriously, drop your city or country in the comments because I love seeing my pack from all over the world. And how are you doing today? I hope you're ready for this roller coaster because once we start, you won't be able to stop. Oh, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. You're going to want to follow every single part of this story. Trust me on this one. Okay, now let's rewind to 2 hours before I destroyed my life. The grand hall was packed. Wall-to-wall wolves. Shoulder to shoulder. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume, burning incense, and barely concealed fear. Tonight was the lunar gathering. A celebration, they called it. A chance for the pack to come together in unity under the leadership of our beloved Alpha King. Beloved. Right. More like feared. I stood near the back with my best friend Lila, trying to blend in, trying to be invisible. That's what you did in the presence of Alpha King Theron Ashcroft. You made yourself small. You kept your head down. You didn't make eye contact. Ever. This is torture, I whispered to Lila, my wolf pacing restlessly beneath my skin. Shoo, she hissed back, her eyes wide with warning. Just, get through tonight. Please, Kira. Don't do anything stupid. I wanted to promise her I wouldn't. But I've never been good at promises. The High Elder was droning on at the front of the hall, talking about loyalty and tradition and the strength of our kingdom. His voice was like nails on a chalkboard, grating and hollow. Everyone was listening with rapt attention. Or at least pretending to. Because that's what you did here. You pretended. You smiled. You bowed. You acted like everything was perfect even when it wasn't. And I was so tired of pretending. My fingers curled into fists at my sides. My jaw clenched. My wolf was snarling inside me, begging to be let loose, begging to run, to fight, to do anything other than stand here and play the obedient little sheep. That's when he appeared. Alpha King Theron Ashcroft. He emerged from the shadows at the back of the raised platform like some kind of dark god. Tall. Intimidating. Impossibly handsome in the way that dangerous things often are. Black suit. Sharp jaw. Dark hair that fell just past his collar. And those eyes, silver, like molten mercury, cold and calculating. He didn't smile. He never smiled. The entire hall fell silent as he took his place on the throne. A massive chair of blackened oak and silver that looked more like a weapon than furniture. He sat with the kind of confidence that came from knowing no one could touch him. No one would dare. "My people," he said, his voice low and smooth, carrying effortlessly through the hall without him having to raise it even a fraction. Everyone bowed their heads. Everyone except me. I don't know why I didn't bow. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was rebellion. Maybe it was the fact that my wolf was screaming at me that this wasn't right, that bowing to someone just because they were powerful was the same as admitting defeat. Whatever it was, I kept my head up. And I kept my eyes on him. "You honor me with your presence," Theron continued, his gaze sweeping across the crowd. "Your loyalty. Your devotion. Devotion." The word made me want to scream. "But I wonder," he said, and there was something sharp in his tone now, something dangerous, "how many of you stand here by choice, and how many simply fear what would happen if you didn't?" The hall was so quiet you could hear hearts beating. And that's when something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the hypocrisy. Maybe it was the way he talked about fear like it was something separate from him when he was the source of it. Maybe I was just done. I laughed. Not quietly. Not politely. A loud, sharp, defiant laugh that cut through the silence like a knife. Every single person in that hall turned to look at me. Lila's hand shot out and grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "Kira," she whispered urgently, her voice trembling. "What are you doing?" But I couldn't stop. The Alpha King's silver eyes locked onto mine. For 3 long seconds, we just stared at each other. And then he spoke. "Something amusing, little wolf?" His voice was calm. Too calm. Like the stillness before a storm. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. But I lifted my chin and met his gaze head-on. "Yeah, actually," I said, and my voice came out steadier than I expected. "You want to know what's funny? Enlighten me." I said. "Talking about choice like we have one. Like any of us are here because we want to be." Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave. Lila's grip on my arm tightened painfully. "Kira, stop. Please." But I was already falling. Might as well fall all the way. "You rule through fear," I continued, my wolf pushing me forward even as some distant part of my brain screamed at me to shut up. "You don't care about loyalty. You care about control. You want us to bow, to obey, to worship you like some kind of god." The silence was suffocating now. "So forgive me, Your Majesty," I said the title like it was poison on my tongue, "if I don't fall at your feet like everyone else in this room." For a moment, nothing happened. Theron Ashcroft sat perfectly still on his throne, his silver eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin burn. And then, slowly, deliberately, he stood. The crowd parted instantly, Wolf scrambling to get out of his way as he descended the platform steps. Each footstep echoed through the hall. Thud. 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 Lila released my arm and backed away, her face pale with terror. I stood alone. Theron stopped 3 feet in front of me. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Taller. Broader. His presence was suffocating, his power radiating off him in waves that made my wolf want to submit and fight at the same time. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Kira," I said, refusing to let my voice shake. "Kira Valmont." He tilted his head slightly, studying me like I was some kind of puzzle. "Kira Valmont," he repeated slowly, tasting each syllable. "The girl who just mocked her king in front of his entire court." "That's me," I said. His eyes narrowed. "Do you have any idea what I could do to you right now?" "Kill me, probably," I shot back. "Exile me. Make an example out of me." "I get it. You're powerful. Congratulations. Something flickered in his expression. Something I couldn't read. And then, he smiled. Not a warm smile. Not kind. A smile that made every instinct in my body scream danger. He turned to face the crowd, his voice rising. This woman has more courage than all of you combined. Wait. What? She speaks truth when others hide behind silence. She challenges me when no one else dares. He looked back at me, and his silver eyes were burning now, burning with something I didn't understand. And for that reason. He paused. The entire hall held its breath. She will be my mate. The words hit me like a physical blow. Mate. Mate? The room exploded into chaos. Voices rising, wolves shouting, the sound crashing over me like a tidal wave. But I couldn't hear any of it. Because all I could hear was my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. All I could see was the Alpha King staring at me with that burning silver gaze. And all I could think was, what the hell just happened? The chaos in the grand hall was deafening. Wolves were shouting, talking over each other, their voices rising in a cacophony of shock and disbelief. Some looked excited. Most looked horrified. And me? I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what had just happened. Mate. The Alpha King had just declared me his mate. In front of everyone. No, I finally managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. No, that's not, you can't just. Theron's silver eyes hadn't left mine. He stood there, calm and collected, like he hadn't just appended my entire existence with a single sentence. I can, he said simply. And I have. This is insane, I breathed, taking a step back. You don't even know me. I know enough. You know nothing. My voice rose, cutting through the noise around us. I insulted you. I disrespected you in front of your entire court. And your response is to claim me as your mate. He tilted his head slightly. Would you have preferred punishment instead? I would have preferred you to be normal. That almost made him smile. Almost. Normal, he repeated, as if tasting the word. I've been called many things, Kira Valmont. Normal has never been one of them. The High Elder rushed forward, his aged face flushed with concern. Your Majesty, surely you cannot be serious. This girl, she's nobody. No rank, no title, no. Careful, Theron said softly, but there was steel beneath the gentleness. You're speaking about my mate. The elder's mouth snapped shut. Theron turned back to me, and for the first time I saw something other than cold calculation in his eyes. Something that looked almost like curiosity. You have a choice, Kira, he said. Accept this bond, or face the consequences of your actions tonight. Exile. Possibly death, depending on how merciful I'm feeling. That's not a choice, I spat. That's a threat. It's the only choice you have. My wolf was going wild inside me. She didn't know whether to fight or flee or something else entirely. Something that terrified me more than anything. She was interested. In him. In the power radiating off him. In the way he looked at me like I was the only person in the room. No. Absolutely not. I need time, I said, hating how desperate I sounded. I need to think. You have until dawn, Theron said. Come to the North Tower before sunrise, or my guards will come for you. Either way, Kira Valmont. He leaned in close, his breath warm against my ear. You're mine now. Then he turned and walked away, the crowd parting before him like he was Moses and they were the Red Sea. The moment he was gone, Lila was at my side, grabbing my shoulders. Kira, what the hell was that? Her green eyes were wide with panic. The Alpha King he just claimed you. In front of everyone. I know, I said numbly. Do you understand what this means? I know, Lila. She pulled me toward the exit, away from the staring eyes and whispered conversations. We didn't stop until we were outside in the cool night air, far from the grand hall. I collapsed against the stone wall, my legs finally giving out. This can't be happening, I whispered. This isn't real. Lila crouched beside me, her hand on my arm. Kira, listen to me. You have to accept this. What? You have to accept the bond. You don't have a choice. He gave me a choice, I said bitterly. Accept or die. Then accept. Lila's voice cracked. Please, Kira. I can't. I can't lose you. I looked at my best friend. We'd known each other since we were children. She was the only family I had left after my parents died 5 years ago in a rogue attack. She was the only person who understood me. Who knew about the anger that simmered beneath my skin? Who knew that my recklessness wasn't bravery, it was survival? Because if I didn't fight back against the unfairness of this world, I'd drown in it. I don't want this, I said quietly. I don't want him. Maybe not, Lila said gently. But he wants you. And in this kingdom, what the Alpha King wants, he gets. She was right. I hated it, but she was right. Tell me about him, I said suddenly. The real him. Not the rumors. Not the legends. What do you actually know about Theron Ashcroft? Lila sat back, thinking. Not much. He became Alpha King 7 years ago after his father died. He was only 21. Everyone expected him to be weak, to be challenged immediately. But he wasn't. No. He crushed every challenge within the first month. Brutally. Efficiently. And then. She hesitated. What? He closed himself off. Stopped attending social events unless necessary. Stopped taking a personal interest in pack members. It's like he built a wall around himself and refused to let anyone in. Why? No one knows. Some say he's heartless. Others say he's protecting himself from something. Lila looked at me. But tonight, the way he looked at you, Kira. I've never seen him look at anyone like that before. Like what? Like you were real. I didn't know what to do with that information. I should run, I said, but even as the words left my mouth, I knew they were hollow. I should leave the kingdom. Go rogue. Disappear. He'd find you, Lila said simply. And when he did, it would be worse. She was right again. I was trapped. The girl who'd spent her whole life fighting against control, against submission, against bowing to anyone, was now bound to the most powerful wolf in the kingdom. The irony was almost funny. Almost. What am I going to do? I whispered. Lila squeezed my hand. You're going to survive. Like you always do. And maybe. She paused. Maybe you'll find out there's more to the Alpha King than the monster everyone thinks he is. And if there isn't? Then you'll find a way to bring him to his knees, Lila said with a small smile. Because that's who you are, Kira Valmont. You don't break. You don't bend. And you sure as hell don't give up. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that I could face this. That I could walk into that tower at dawn and not lose myself completely. But as I sat there in the darkness, feeling the weight of the Alpha King's claim settling over me like chains, I wasn't sure I believed anything anymore. Except one thing. My life had just changed forever. And there was no going back. I didn't sleep. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him. Those silver eyes burning into mine. That calm, controlled voice declaring me his mate like it was already decided. Like I had no say in my own fate. By the time the first rays of sunlight crept through my window, I'd made my decision. I was going to the North Tower. Not because I wanted to. Not because I accepted this insane bond. But because I needed answers. And maybe, just maybe, I could find a way out of this. Lila helped me dress in silence. A simple dark green dress, nothing fancy. My hair pulled back in a braid. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the girl staring back. 24 hours ago, I was nobody. A low-ranking wolf with a sharp tongue and a death wish. Now I was, what? The Alpha King's mate? It didn't feel real. You can do this, Lila said, squeezing my shoulders. Just, try not to insult him again. At least not today. I managed a weak smile. No promises. The walk to the North Tower felt like a march to the gallows. Wolves I'd known my entire life stopped and stared as I passed. Some with pity. Some with envy. Most with confusion. I kept my head high. If I was going down, I was going down fighting. The North Tower loomed above me, all dark stone and narrow windows. 2 guards stood at the entrance, their expressions blank. Kira Valmont, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The Alpha King is expecting me. They stepped aside without a word. The interior was exactly what I'd expected. Cold. Imposing. Everything decorated in blacks and silvers and deep reds that looked like dried blood. A servant girl appeared, barely older than me, her eyes downcast. This way, miss, she whispered, leading me up a spiral staircase that seemed to go on forever. We finally stopped at a massive wooden door. She knocked twice, then scurried away like she couldn't get far enough fast enough. Enter, came Theron's voice from inside. I pushed open the door. The room was, not what I expected. Yes, it was large. Yes, it was elegant. But it wasn't cold. There were books everywhere. Shelves lining the walls, stacks on tables, some lying open as if he'd been reading multiple at once. And in the center of it all, standing by the window with the morning light streaming in behind him, was Theron Ashcroft. He'd changed since last night. Gone was the formal black suit. Now he wore simple dark pants and a white shirt, sleeves rolled up to his elbows. He looked, almost human. Almost. You came, he said, turning to face me. Did I have a choice? There's always a choice, Kira. You just don't like the alternatives. I stepped further into the room, my arms crossed. Why? Why what? Why me? The words burst out of me. You could have anyone. Any she-wolf in this kingdom would kill for the chance to be your mate. So why choose the one person who publicly humiliated you? Theron was quiet for a long moment, studying me with those unreadable silver eyes. Then he moved toward me, slow and deliberate, like a predator approaching prey. I forced myself not to step back. He stopped inches away. Close enough that I could smell him. Pine and smoke and something wild underneath. Do you know what it's like, he said softly, to be surrounded by people who only tell you what you want to hear? Who bow and scrape and worship you, not because they respect you, but because they fear you. I swallowed hard. No. It's lonely, Kira. Unbearably lonely. And then last night, you stood in front of me and told me the truth. You looked me in the eye and called me out for exactly what I am. He leaned in closer. Do you have any idea how rare that is? How refreshing. So what? I'm entertainment. Anger flared in my chest. A novelty? Someone to keep you amused until you get bored? No. His voice was firm. You're my mate. I didn't agree to that. Your wolf did. I froze. You felt it, didn't you? Theron continued, his eyes searching mine. When I made the declaration, your wolf recognized the bond. She knows what you refuse to accept. He was right. Damn him, he was right. My wolf had perked up the moment he'd claimed me. She'd been restless ever since, pacing, wanting him. That doesn't mean anything, I said weakly. It means everything. Theron reached up, his fingers brushing a strand of hair from my face. The touch sent electricity racing down my spine. I'm not asking you to love me, Kira. I'm not even asking you to like me. But I am asking you to give this a chance. And if I refuse? Then you walk away. Right now. I won't stop you. I won't send guards after you. You'll be free. I stared at him, searching for the lie, the trap. There was none. But, he continued, his voice dropping lower, you'll always wonder. What if? What could have been? And that wondering will eat you alive. My breath caught. Because he was right about that too. 1 month, I heard myself say. Give me 1 month to decide. To figure out if this, whatever this is real or just some twisted game. Theron considered this. Then, slowly, he nodded. 1 month. But you'll stay here. In the tower. With me. What? No, Those are my terms, Kira. 1 month. You stay, you get to know me, and at the end, you decide. Accept the bond fully, or walk away forever. But you don't get to keep 1 foot out the door the entire time. I wanted to argue. Wanted to fight. But something in his expression stopped me. Vulnerability. Just a flash of it, quickly hidden, but I saw it. The great Alpha King was scared. Scared I'd say no. Scared I'd leave. And that changed everything. Fine, I said. 1 month. But I'm not sharing a bed with you. The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Separate rooms. You have my word. And I'm not bowing to you. Or calling you Your Majesty. Or acting like some submissive little mate. I wouldn't expect anything less. And if I decide to leave at the end of the month, you let me go. No questions. No consequences. Agreed. I stuck out my hand. Then we have a deal. Theron looked down at my outstretched hand. Then, instead of shaking it, he took it gently and brought it to his lips. The kiss was soft. Barely there. But it burned. We have a deal, he murmured against my skin. Welcome home, Kira Valmont. And as I stood there, my hand still in his, feeling the mate bond humming between us like a living thing, I realized I'd just made either the best or worst decision of my life. Only time would tell which. Living with the Alpha King was nothing like I expected. I thought it would be suffocating. Controlling. A constant battle for dominance. Instead, it was strange. Theron gave me space. An entire wing of the North Tower, actually. My own bedroom, sitting room, even a private library when he noticed me eyeing his book collection. You read? He'd asked, almost surprised. You thought I was just a pretty face with a death wish? I'd shot back. That had earned me one of his rare, almost smiles. But it wasn't the space that confused me. It was him. 3 days into our arrangement, I still couldn't figure him out. He was cold and commanding with everyone else. Barking orders, making decisions without hesitation, ruling with an iron fist. But with me? He was different. Careful. Almost gentle. Like I was something fragile he was afraid to break. It was driving me crazy. Stop it, I said on the fourth morning, slamming my teacup down harder than necessary. We were having breakfast together. Another one of his rules. 1 meal a day, just the two of us. Theron looked up from the report he was reading. Stop what? That. The whole careful, walking on eggshells thing. I'm not made of glass. I never said you were. You treat me like I am. Everyone else gets the terrifying alpha king. I get this. I gestured vaguely at him. Whatever this is. He set down his papers, giving me his full attention. Would you prefer I treat you the way I treat them? I'd prefer you treat me like I'm real. Something flickered in his eyes. The same look Lila had mentioned. Like I was the only real thing in his world. You are real, Kira. That's the problem. How is that a problem? He stood, walking to the window. His back was to me, shoulders tense. Because everything else in my life is a game. Politics. Power plays. People saying whatever they think I want to hear. But you. He turned to face me. You don't play games. You say exactly what you think. And I don't know how to handle that. The honesty in his voice caught me off guard. Try treating me like an equal, I said quietly. Not a subject. Not a fragile thing to protect. An equal. You are my mate. I'm a person first. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. Then he nodded slowly. All right. Equal it is. Good. Starting now, he said, a glint entering his eyes. I have a council meeting in an hour. You're coming with me. I nearly choked on my tea. What? No. I don't know anything about running a kingdom. Then you'll learn. You wanted to be treated as an equal. Equals don't hide in towers while important decisions are made. That's not what I meant and you know it. Too late. You're coming. He was already walking toward the door. Wear something appropriate. The council members are vultures. They'll tear you apart if you show any weakness. Theron. He paused, glancing back. It was the first time I'd used his name. His expression softened. Just a fraction. Trust me, Kira. And somehow, impossibly, I did. The council chamber was exactly as intimidating as I'd feared. A massive round table. 12 seats. 11 of them filled with the most powerful wolves in the kingdom, all staring at me like I was an insect that had crawled into their midst. The only empty seat was beside Theron. Gentlemen, Theron said coolly, pulling out the chair for me. My mate will be joining us from now on. I trust that won't be a problem. It clearly was. Lord Garrett, an older wolf with silver streaking his temples, spoke first. Your Majesty, with all due respect, council meetings discuss sensitive matters. Perhaps the young lady would be more comfortable. The young lady has a name, I cut in, meeting his gaze. And she's perfectly comfortable right here. Theron's hand brushed mine under the table. A silent approval. The meeting was brutal. They discussed border disputes, rogue attacks, trade agreements. The council members spoke in circles, playing political games, never saying directly what they meant. I hated it. Enough, I said suddenly, interrupting Lord Garrett mid-sentence about the delicate nature of Southern relations. The room fell silent. 11 pairs of eyes turned to me. Most were shocked. A few were hostile. Theron leaned back in his chair, watching me with interest. "You've been talking for 20 minutes, I continued, and you haven't said anything. The southern packs are causing problems. They're not respecting the borders. So stop dancing around it and say what you really mean. You want to go to war." Lord Garrett's face flushed. "I never said." "You didn't have to. It's written all over your face." I looked around the table. "All of you. You want the Alpha King to make the hard choice so you don't have to take responsibility for it." "How dare you?" another council member sputtered. "You know nothing of our ways, of the complexities." "I know enough," I said firmly. "I know that wars start because people are too proud to have honest conversations. So maybe instead of plotting attacks, someone should actually talk to the Southern Alpha. Find out what they want. What they need." "Diplomacy," Lord Garrett scoffed. "How naive." "Naive?" I leaned forward. What's naive is thinking violence is the only answer. What's naive is sending wolves to die because you're too stubborn to try anything else first. The room erupted. Voices rising, council members arguing with each other, with me, chaos spreading like wildfire. And then Theron's voice cut through it all. Silence. Instant quiet. He stood, his presence commanding every bit of attention in the room. "The girl makes a valid point," he said, and I could hear the approval in his voice. "Lord Garrett, you'll arrange a meeting with the Southern Alpha. Diplomatic talks first. If they fail..." His eyes hardened. "Then we discuss other options." Lord Garrett looked like he'd swallowed something bitter. "Yes, Your Majesty." Theron's gaze swept the room. "My mate has proven herself more useful in 5 minutes than some of you have in years. I suggest you remember that." Dismissed. The council members filed out, some shooting me dark looks, others appearing thoughtful. When we were alone, Theron turned to me. "That was impressive. I probably just made a lot of enemies." "You made some. You also earned respect from others. That's how power works, Kira." He stepped closer. "You did well. Don't sound so surprised." "I'm not. I knew you had it in you." His hand came up, fingers brushing my cheek. "You're stronger than you realize." My breath caught. We were standing too close. The air between us charged with something electric, something dangerous. The mate bond was pulling at me, urging me closer, whispering that this was right, that he was mine. I stepped back. "I should go," I said quickly. "I need to. I have to. Kira." I stopped at the door, looking back. Theron's silver eyes were burning. 2 weeks left," he said quietly. "And I'm already dreading the day you might choose to leave." The raw honesty in his voice stole my breath. I didn't know what to say. So I did the only thing I could. I left. But as I walked back to my room, my heart pounding, my wolf practically purring with satisfaction, I realized something terrifying. I was starting to fall for him. And I had no idea what to do about it. Everything changed on the 10th day. I'd been settling into a routine. Mornings with Theron. Council meetings where I'd somehow become a voice people actually listened to. Afternoons in the library. Evenings trying to sort through the mess of feelings tangled up inside me. The mate bond was getting stronger. I could feel him even when he wasn't in the room. Sense his moods. Know when he was stressed or angry or thinking about me. And he was thinking about me a lot. It should have been suffocating. Instead, it felt like coming home. I was in trouble. Deep trouble. You're distracted, Lila said during her visit that afternoon. She'd come to check on me, bringing fresh clothes and enough questions to fill a book. I'm fine. You're lying. She studied me carefully. Kira, what's going on? And don't say nothing. I know you better than that. I sank onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. I think I'm falling for him, Lila. The Alpha King? No, the gardener. Yes, Theron. I looked up at her. This wasn't supposed to happen. I was supposed to survive the month and leave. But now you don't want to leave. I don't know what I want anymore. Lila sat beside me, taking my hand. Kira, maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe. The door burst open. Theron stood there, his face dark with fury. Behind him, 2 guards flanked a woman I'd never seen before. She was beautiful. Tall, elegant, with long black hair and sharp green eyes. And the way she looked at Theron, like she owned him. Kira, Theron said, his voice tight. This is Lady Morgana. She's just arrived from the Eastern Territory with some interesting news. Morgana's smile was all teeth. Your Majesty, you're too kind. Though I must say, I'm surprised to find you've taken a mate. Especially one so. Her eyes raked over me dismissively. Unexpected. My wolf bristled. And you are? Someone with a prior claim, she said sweetly. The room went cold. What? I stood slowly, looking at Theron. What is she talking about? Theron's jaw clenched. It's not what you think. Then explain it to me. Morgana laughed, a tinkling sound that made me want to throw something at her. Oh, he hasn't told you? How delicious. Your Majesty, shall I do the honors, or would you like to tell your little mate about our arrangement? There is no arrangement, Theron growled. Not anymore. But there was. Morgana pulled out a piece of parchment, holding it up. A contract. Signed by you 7 years ago. Promising that when you took a mate, it would be me. The words hit me like a physical blow. That contract is void, Theron said. Is it? Because according to Pack law, a contract signed by the Alpha King is binding unless both parties agree to dissolve it. And I. She smiled viciously. I don't agree. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Kira, Theron started, reaching for me. I stepped back. You were promised to someone else? And you didn't think to mention this? It was years ago. Before you what? Before you decided to claim me as your mate in front of everyone? My voice was rising, anger and hurt battling for dominance. Was this all a game? Some way to get out of a contract? No. Theron's voice was fierce. That contract meant nothing. It was a political arrangement made by my father before he died. I never wanted. But you signed it. The silence that followed was damning. I was 21, Theron said quietly. And I'd just become Alpha King. I signed whatever was put in front of me to maintain stability. But it was never real, Kira. Never. It's real enough to be binding, Morgana interjected helpfully. Which means your little mate bond is, how shall I put this? Illegitimate. My world was crumbling. Everything from the past 10 days. The connection. The growing feelings. The hope that maybe, just maybe, this could work. All built on a lie. I need air, I managed, heading for the door. Kira, wait, Theron called after me. But I was already running. Down the stairs, through corridors, past startled servants and guards. I didn't stop until I was outside, in the gardens, far enough away that I couldn't feel the mate bond pulling at me. I collapsed on a stone bench, tears streaming down my face. How could I have been so stupid? Of course there was a catch. Of course the powerful Alpha King didn't just randomly choose a nobody like me out of genuine interest. I was a way out. An escape from an unwanted contract. And I'd fallen for it. Fallen for him. Kira. I looked up to find Theron standing there, breathing hard like he'd run after me. Don't, I said, my voice breaking. Just, don't. You have to listen to me. Why? So you can tell me more lies? I never lied to you. His voice was raw with emotion. Everything I told you was true. The contract with Morgana, it's meaningless. It was never about her. It was about you. From the moment you stood up to me in that hall. Stop. Please, just stop. He knelt in front of me, his silver eyes desperate. That contract can be broken. I'll find a way. But you have to believe me when I say that what's between us is real. How can I believe anything you say? Because of this. He grabbed my hand, pressing it against his chest. His heart was racing beneath my palm. You feel that? That's real, Kira. The bond. The connection. You can't fake that. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to so badly. But the hurt was too deep. I need time, I whispered. I need to think. How much time? I don't know. Just, not now. Not like this. Theron stood slowly, looking more vulnerable than I'd ever seen him. I'll give you space, he said quietly. But Kira, please know this. That contract means nothing. Morgana means nothing. You. His voice broke. You're the only thing that's mattered to me in 7 years. Then he turned and walked away. Leaving me alone with my shattered heart and the impossible choice ahead. Stay and risk getting hurt again. Or leave and lose the one person who'd made me feel truly alive. Either way, I was going to lose something. The only question was, what was I willing to sacrifice? I didn't see Theron for 3 days. He kept his promise. Gave me space. Stayed away even though I could feel the mate bond stretching between us, aching with the distance. But he made sure I knew he was still there. Fresh flowers appeared in my room every morning. My favorite tea waiting at breakfast. Books I'd mentioned wanting to read showed up in the library. Silent gestures that said everything words couldn't. It made hating him impossible. And I desperately wanted to hate him. Lila visited every day, trying to help me make sense of everything. He broke a contract for you, she said on the 3rd afternoon. Kira, do you understand how rare that is? How much that means? He hasn't broken it yet, I pointed out. Morgana's still here. Still making her claim. Because she's stalling. She knows the moment Theron finds a legal way out, she loses everything. I stared out the window at the gardens below. What if there is no way out? What if the contract really is binding? Then he'll find another way. Kira, I've never seen anyone look at someone the way he looks at you. Like you're his entire world. That's the mate bond talking. No. Lila's voice was firm. The mate bond creates attraction. It doesn't create the way he listens when you speak. The way he changes his policies based on your suggestions. The way he looks lost when you're not in the room. I wanted to believe her. But fear had dug its claws in deep. That evening, everything fell apart. I was in my room when I heard shouting from downstairs. Loud, angry voices that made my wolf sit up and take notice. I rushed to the corridor, following the sound to Theron's study. The door was ajar. Inside, Theron stood facing Morgana and Lord Garrett. The council member looked smug. Morgana looked triumphant. "The law is clear, Your Majesty," Lord Garrett was saying. "The contract stands unless the lady releases you. And since she refuses, then I'll change the law," Theron growled. "You cannot simply change centuries of tradition because of one girl," Morgana said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Be reasonable, Theron. Send her away. Honor your commitment to me. We could rule together, just as your father intended. I would rather burn this kingdom to the ground." The venom in his voice made me flinch. Morgana's expression hardened. "Then perhaps I should help you decide. I've taken the liberty of issuing an arrest warrant for Kira Valmont." Everything stopped. "What?" Theron's voice was deadly quiet. "She assaulted the Alpha King. Publicly humiliated him. Under pack law, that's treason. Punishable by death or exile." Morgana smiled. "Unless, of course, you'd like to reconsider our arrangement. Agree to honor the contract, and I'll withdraw the warrant." I couldn't breathe. She was using me as leverage. "You wouldn't dare," Theron said, but I could hear the fear beneath the rage. "Oh, but I would. In fact, my guards are heading to her room right now." Morgana checked an ornate watch on her wrist. "You have about 2 minutes to decide, Your Majesty. Me, or her life." I didn't wait to hear more. I ran. Back through the corridors, heart pounding, Wolf screaming at me to flee. I burst into my room, grabbed the small bag Lila had brought me, and headed for the window. I was 3 stories up, but my wolf could handle the jump. I had to. The door slammed open behind me. Not guards. Theron. He looked wild. Desperate. His silver eyes found mine and something in his expression broke. "Don't," he said hoarsely. "Please, Kira. Don't run. She'll kill me. Or exile me. Either way, I lose. I won't let that happen. You can't stop it. The law, the contract, everything is against us, Theron. This was never going to work. We both knew it." He crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbing my shoulders. "I will not lose you. Do you hear me? I will break every law, destroy every tradition, tear this kingdom apart if I have to, but I will not lose you." Tears streamed down my face. "You're the Alpha King. You can't just—" "I don't care about being king." His voice cracked. 7 years I've sat on that throne feeling nothing. Being nothing. Just going through the motions because it was expected. And then you walked into my life and for the first time, I felt something. I felt everything. His hands cupped my face, thumbs brushing away my tears. "You made me remember what it feels like to be alive," he whispered. "To want something beyond duty and responsibility. You challenged me. Pushed me. Made me better. And I—" He took a shuddering breath. "I love you, Kira. I love you more than this crown, more than this kingdom, more than my own life." The words shattered something inside me. "Theron. Come with me," he said urgently. "Right now. We'll leave. Go somewhere they can't find us. Start over." "You're asking me to run away with you? To abandon everything?" "I'm asking you to choose us. Choose what we have over what they want us to be." I stared at him, this powerful Alpha King, ready to throw everything away from me. The girl who'd mocked him. Who'd fought him. Who'd somehow, impossibly, stolen his heart. "If we run," I said slowly, "Morgana wins. She gets the kingdom. The power. Everything." I don't care. But I do. I grabbed his hands. You're a good king, Theron. Better than you think. And this kingdom needs you. We can't just abandon it to her. Then what do we do? I thought fast, my mind racing through possibilities. And then it hit me. The contract says you have to take her as your mate, right? Yes. But it doesn't say when. Theron's eyes widened, understanding dawning. You're right. The timeline was never specified. So you agree to honor it. Eventually. But not now. I gripped his hands tighter. Buy us time. Tell her you'll fulfill the contract in 1 year. That gives us time to find a real solution. A way to break it legally. She'll never agree to that. She will if you give her something she wants more. A seat on the council. Power. Influence. I met his eyes. Make her think she's winning. Slowly, Theron smiled. Not his usual controlled smile. A real one. Full of pride and admiration. You're brilliant, he breathed. I'm desperate. There's a difference. He pulled me close, his forehead resting against mine. 1 year. We have 1 year to find a way out of this. 1 year, I agreed. And then? And then we're free. Together. For real. He kissed me then. Not gently. Not carefully. With everything he had. And I kissed him back, pouring every ounce of love and fear and hope into it. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, his eyes were shining. Let's go break the news to Morgana, he said. I nodded, taking his hand. We walked out of that room together. Not as king and reluctant mate. As partners. As equals. As two people willing to fight the entire world for each other. But as we descended the stairs, neither of us saw the shadow in the corner. Or the malicious smile spreading across Morgana's face. She'd heard everything. And she was already planning her next move. Morgana played her part perfectly. Too perfectly. When Theron presented the compromise, offering her a council seat and a promise to honor the contract in 1 year, she'd smiled graciously and accepted. No fight. No demands. Just agreement. It should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like a trap. Something's wrong, I told Lila 2 days later. We were in the gardens, far enough from the tower that I could speak freely. She gave in too easily. Maybe she knows she doesn't have a choice, Lila offered. A year gives her power now instead of waiting indefinitely. Or a year gives her time to destroy us. Lila squeezed my hand. You're paranoid. I'm realistic. I looked back at the North Tower, where I could feel Theron working in his study. The mate bond hummed between us, stronger every day. She wants him, Lila. And she's not going to let me stand in her way. Then you fight. You've never backed down from anything in your life. Don't start now. She was right. I'd spent too long afraid. Too long waiting for the other shoe to drop. It was time to take control. That evening, I did something reckless. I went to Morgana's chambers. She answered the door herself, her green eyes widening in false surprise. Kira. What an unexpected pleasure. Cut the act, I said, pushing past her into the room. I know you're planning something. Morgana closed the door, her smile sharpening. Planning? My dear, I'm simply waiting. 1 year, as agreed. You heard us. That night in my room. You were there. For a moment, just a moment, her mask slipped. Then it was back, smooth as glass. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. And whatever you're planning, it won't work. Theron loves me. Not you. And no contract is going to change that. Morgana laughed, a cold sound that made my skin crawl. Love. How quaint. Tell me, Kira, do you really think love is enough? In our world? Where power and bloodlines and tradition dictate everything? It's enough for us. Is it? She circled me slowly, like a predator. Because from where I'm standing, you're a nobody. No title. No rank. No pack of your own. You bring nothing to this union except, what? A sharp tongue and a pretty face? I bring honesty. Something you wouldn't recognize. Her eyes flashed with anger. You think you've won because he chose you. But the game isn't over, little wolf. In fact, it's just beginning. What are you planning? Nothing I need to share with you. She moved to pour herself wine, her movements graceful and deliberate. But I will give you some advice. Free of charge. Enjoy your time with the Alpha King. Because come next year. She raised her glass in a mock toast. He'll be mine. One way or another. The threat was clear. I left before I did something I'd regret. But as I walked back to the tower, my wolf was restless, warning me that danger was coming. I just didn't know from where. I found out 3 days later. I was in a council meeting, seated beside Theron as usual, when a messenger burst in. Your Majesty, he gasped, out of breath. The southern border. There's been an attack. Everyone froze. What kind of attack? Theron demanded, already on his feet. Rogues, sire. Dozens of them. They've breached the border and are heading for the nearest village. My blood ran cold. The southern border. The same one we'd been trying to negotiate peace with. This wasn't a coincidence. Theron was already giving orders, commanding his warriors to mobilize, sending scouts ahead. But then Morgana spoke up from her new council seat. Your Majesty, perhaps this is a sign. A sign that diplomacy, as some have suggested. Her eyes flickered to me. Isn't working. Perhaps it's time for a stronger approach. We don't even know who's responsible, I argued. Don't we? Lord Garrett interjected. The Southern Alpha has been hostile from the start. This attack proves they can't be trusted. Or someone wanted it to look that way, I shot back. The room erupted in argument. But Theron's voice cut through it all. Enough. I'm leading the defense personally. Lord Garrett, mobilize the Eastern warriors. Morgana, coordinate with the healers. And Kira. He turned to me, his silver eyes conflicted. You stay here. Where it's safe. What? No. I can fight. I can help. I can't focus on the battle if I'm worried about protecting you. The word stung. I don't need your protection. Kira, please. His voice dropped, meant only for me. I can't lose you. Not now. Not when we're so close to having everything. I wanted to argue. Wanted to fight. But the fear in his eyes stopped me. Fine, I said quietly. But you come back to me. Promise. He cupped my face, kissing me in front of the entire council. I promise. Then he was gone, taking half the kingdom's warriors with him. Leaving me behind with Morgana and a terrible feeling that I'd just made a huge mistake. The first sign came that night. I was in my room when I heard shouting. Screaming. I rushed to the window and saw smoke rising from the western quarter of the kingdom. Fire. But Theron had taken the warriors west, toward the southern border. The attack wasn't coming from the south. It was coming from within. I ran downstairs, finding chaos. Servants fleeing. Guards trying to organize a defense. And in the center of it all, Morgana, looking far too calm. "What's happening?" I demanded. "Isn't it obvious?" She smiled. "A coup. While the Alpha King is away, dealing with a convenient distraction, his kingdom falls. You planned this. The southern attack, everything. You planned all of it. Clever girl. Too bad you figured it out too late." Guards surrounded me. Not Theron's loyal warriors. New ones. One's loyal to Morgana. "Take her to the dungeons," Morgana ordered. "And send word to the Alpha King. Tell him if he ever wants to see his precious maid again, he'll honor our contract. Tonight." I fought. God, I fought with everything I had. But there were too many. As they dragged me away, Morgana's laughter echoing behind me, I realized the truth. We'd been played from the start. And now Theron would have to choose. His kingdom, or me. But as they threw me into the dark cell below the tower, as I felt the mate bond screaming with distance and fear, I made a choice of my own. I wasn't going to be the damsel waiting to be rescued. I was going to save myself. And then I was going to burn Morgana's plans to the ground. The dungeon was dark. Cold. Built to hold the kingdom's most dangerous criminals. But they'd underestimated one thing. I wasn't just some helpless girl anymore. I was the Alpha King's mate. And my wolf was done playing nice. The guards had taken my shoes, thinking it would keep me from running. They'd chained my wrists, thinking it would keep me contained. They were wrong. I closed my eyes, reaching deep inside for my wolf. She surged forward, eager, ready. The shift was painful. Always was. Bones breaking and reforming, skin splitting to make way for fur. But pain was nothing compared to what Morgana had planned. The chains fell away as my body changed shape. Too small now to hold a wolf. I shook out my silver gray fur and tested the cell door. Locked. Obviously. But dungeon doors were built to keep humans in. Not desperate wolves. I backed up, then lunged, slamming my full weight against the wood. Once. Twice. On the third hit, it splintered. I shifted back, grabbed the torn remnants of my dress, and ran. The dungeon corridors were a maze, but I followed my instincts. Up. Always up. Toward fresh air and freedom. I encountered 2 guards on the stairs. They never saw me coming. My wolf was faster, stronger than they expected. I disarmed one, knocked the other unconscious, and kept moving. By the time I burst out into the main tower, alarm bells were ringing. But I didn't care. I needed to find Lila. Needed to get word to Theron. Needed to stop Morgana before this went any further. I found Lila in the servants' quarters, hiding with a dozen others. "Kira." She rushed to me. "Oh my God, you're alive. We heard Morgana had you killed." "Not yet. But she's trying." I grabbed her shoulders. "I need your help. Can you get a message to Theron? The roads are blocked. Morgana's forces control everything. Then we go over them. Through the forest. I don't care. He needs to know this was a trap." "He already knows," a voice said from the doorway. I spun around. Standing there, covered in blood and dirt, silver eyes blazing with fury, was Theron. He looked like a god of war. Terrifying. Beautiful. Alive. "Theron," I breathed. He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled me into his arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. "When I got the message that she had you, he said against my hair, I thought I'd lost you. I thought. I'm fine. I got out. He pulled back, looking at me with something between pride and exasperation. Of course you did. The southern attack? A diversion. Paid rogues. We dealt with them quickly. His jaw clenched. Then I came back to find my kingdom on fire and my mate in a dungeon. Morgana planned everything. The contract, the attack, all of it. She wants the throne, Theron. And she'll kill anyone who gets in her way. Then she's made a fatal mistake. His voice was ice. Because no one threatens what's mine and lives to tell about it. He turned to the assembled servants. Where is Lady Morgana now? An older woman stepped forward. The throne room, Your Majesty. She's declared herself acting ruler in your absence. Theron's smile was deadly. Perfect. We stormed the throne room with an army at our backs. Not Morgana's paid guards. Real warriors. Loyal wolves who'd served Theron for years and weren't about to let some outsider take their kingdom. The massive doors burst open. Morgana sat on Theron's throne, wearing a crown that didn't belong to her, surrounded by her conspirators. Lord Garrett was there too, standing at her right hand. Traitor. Theron, Morgana said, not bothering to stand. How lovely of you to join us. Though I'm afraid you're too late. The council has voted. I am now. Nothing, Theron cut her off, his voice echoing through the hall. You are nothing. A liar. A traitor. And under pack law, the penalty for treason is death. Morgana's composure cracked. You can't touch me. The contract. The contract is void. I stepped forward, holding up a piece of parchment. Because it was signed under false pretenses. You told Theron's father that your family controlled the eastern trade routes. They don't. They never did. Which makes the entire agreement fraudulent. I'd found it in the archives during my time in the library. One detail. One small lie. But it was enough. Morgana's face went white. How did you? I said simply. Something you should have done before you built your entire plan on a fake contract. Lord Garrett tried to run. He didn't make it 3 steps before Theron's warriors had him in chains. Morgana stood slowly, her green eyes blazing with hatred. This isn't over. Yes, Theron said quietly, it is. He nodded to his guards. But before they could reach her, Morgana shifted. Her wolf was black as night, massive and snarling. She lunged straight for me. I didn't think. Didn't hesitate. My wolf surged forward and I shifted mid-leap, meeting her attack head-on. We collided in a tangle of fur and teeth and claws. She was bigger. Stronger. More experienced. But I was fighting for something she'd never understand. Love. I fought with everything I had. Every ounce of strength, every bit of rage at what she'd tried to take from me. The fight was brutal. Vicious. And then I saw my opening. I went for her throat, my teeth finding purchase. She yelped, trying to shake me off, but I held on. Enough, Theron's voice commanded. I released her, shifting back, standing over her defeated form. Morgana shifted too, bloodied and broken, glaring up at me with pure hatred. Take her away, Theron ordered. She'll stand trial for her crimes. Along with anyone else who conspired with her. As the guards dragged Morgana and Lord Garrett away, Theron turned to me. I was standing there, covered in blood and bruises, my dress torn beyond repair. And he looked at me like I was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. You're incredible, he said softly. I'm a mess. You're mine. He pulled me close, not caring about the blood or the audience or anything except the fact that we were both alive. And I'm never letting you go. The contract is destroyed. Along with anyone who tries to come between us again. He kissed me then, in front of the entire court, claiming me in a way that left no doubt. I was his mate. His equal. His queen. When we finally broke apart, the throne room erupted in cheers. Theron took my hand, leading me toward the throne. Our throne. Ready to rule a kingdom? He asked. I looked at him. This man who'd chosen me over duty, over tradition, over everything. And I smiled. With you? Always. 3 months later, the kingdom had transformed. The damage from Morgana's coup was repaired. The traitors who'd conspired with her were dealt with, some exiled, others stripped of their titles. Lord Garrett was serving a life sentence in the very dungeon where they'd tried to hold me. Justice, it turned out, had a sense of irony. But more than the physical changes, something deeper had shifted. The kingdom had hope again. Theron was different now. Still strong, still commanding, but there was warmth in him that hadn't existed before. He smiled more. Laughed occasionally. Actually listened when his people spoke. And I had found my place. Not as some ornamental mate who stood silently beside the throne. As his partner. His equal. His queen in every sense of the word. Today was our official mating ceremony. The first one had been his declaration in the Grand Hall, made in anger and defiance and something neither of us fully understood yet. This one was different. This one was our choice. I stood in front of the mirror in my chambers, Lila fussing with my dress. It was silver and white, flowing like moonlight, with intricate embroidery along the bodice. You look like a queen, Lila said, tears in her eyes. I looked terrified. You look happy. There's a difference. She squeezed my hand. I'm so proud of you, Kira. Look at everything you've accomplished. Everything you've become. I met her eyes in the reflection. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have. You're the strongest person I know. She smiled. But I'm glad I got to be here for it anyway. A knock at the door interrupted us. One of Theron's guards stood there, looking slightly uncomfortable. Your Majesty, the Alpha King requests your presence in the gardens. He says, and I quote, "Tell her to hurry up, I've been waiting 24 years for this, and I'm done being patient." I laughed. That sounded exactly like him. Tell him I'll be there when I'm ready. The guard grinned. He said you'd say that. He also said to tell you that if you make him wait too long, he's coming up here himself and carrying you down, ceremony or no ceremony. He wouldn't dare. Your Majesty, with respect, yes, he would. Fair point. The gardens had been transformed into something magical. Thousands of white flowers hung from every tree and archway. Candles floated in the fountains, their flames dancing in the evening breeze. The entire pack was assembled, hundreds of wolves gathered to witness their Alpha King take his mate. And at the center of it all, standing beneath an arch of silver and moonflowers, was Theron. He wore traditional ceremonial robes, black and silver, his dark hair pulled back. Those silver eyes found mine the moment I appeared, and everything else faded away. There was only him. Only us. I walked toward him slowly, taking in every detail. The way his hands clenched at his sides like he was physically restraining himself from running to me. The slight smile playing at his lips. The absolute certainty in his gaze. When I finally reached him, he took my hands in his. You're late, he murmured. I'm worth the wait. Yes, he said seriously, you are. The High Elder, the same one who'd nearly had a heart attack when I first challenged Theron, stepped forward to perform the ceremony. He looked significantly happier this time. "We are gathered here," he began, "to witness the joining of two souls. The bond between Alpha and Mate is sacred, powerful, and eternal. It is not entered into lightly, but with full knowledge and acceptance." Theron's thumbs traced circles on my palms, a soothing gesture that made my wolf purr. "Theron Ashcroft, Alpha King of the Northern Territories, do you take this woman as your mate, your equal, your partner in all things?" "I do," Theron said, his voice carrying across the garden. "With everything I am and everything I have. She is mine, and I am hers. Now and forever." The elder turned to me. "Kira Valmont, do you accept this bond? Do you take Theron as your mate, knowing the responsibilities and privileges that come with standing beside the Alpha King?" I looked into Theron's eyes, seeing everything we'd been through reflected there. The fights. The fear. The growth. The love. "I do," I said clearly. "With my whole heart. He is mine, and I am his. Now and forever." The elder raised his hands. "Then by the power vested in me by pack law and ancient tradition, I declare you bonded. Mates for life. What the moon has joined, let no one tear apart." Theron didn't wait for permission. He pulled me into his arms and kissed me, deep in claiming and full of promise. The crowd erupted in cheers, howls rising into the night sky as wolves celebrated their king and queen. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, Theron rested his forehead against mine. "Mine," he whispered. "Yours," I agreed. "And you're mine. Always." The celebration lasted long into the night. Music. Dancing. Laughter. For the first time in years, the kingdom felt truly alive. I danced with Theron, with Lila, with warriors and servants and council members who'd once looked at me like I was crazy for challenging the Alpha King. Now they looked at me with respect. With loyalty. With love. As the moon reached its peak, Theron pulled me away from the crowd, leading me back to the North Tower. Our tower now. Our home. "Happy?" he asked as we stood on the balcony, looking out over the kingdom. "Deliriously," I said, leaning into him. "Though if you told me 3 months ago that I'd end up here, married to the man I publicly mocked, you would have laughed in my face. Probably challenged you to a fight." He smiled, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "You did challenge me. Every single day. You still do. It's one of the things I love most about you." I turned in his arms, looking up at him. "I love you too. Even when you're being an overbearing, overprotective alpha. Especially then, you mean. Maybe." He kissed me softly, sweetly, a promise of everything to come. "So what now?" I asked. "We've defeated the villain, saved the kingdom, got our happily ever after. What's left?" Theron's eyes gleamed with mischief and heat. "Now, my queen, we live. We rule. We drive each other crazy and make each other better and build something worth fighting for." "Sounds perfect." "It will be," he promised. "Because I have you. And you have me. And together, there's nothing we can't face." He was right. The girl who'd mocked the Alpha King in public had found her place. Not as his subject. Not as his possession. As his equal. His partner. His mate. And as I stood there in his arms, the mate bond singing between us, our kingdom peaceful below, I knew without a doubt that this was exactly where I was meant to be. Not despite the chaos. Because of it. Every challenge. Every fight. Every moment of fear and doubt had led me here. To him. To us. to home. And I wouldn't change a single thing. And that's it. Kira and Theron got their happily ever after. From enemies to lovers, from chaos to queens and kings, they fought for each other and won. What did you think of their story? Drop your favorite moment in the comments below. And if you loved this tale of the girl who dared to challenge an alpha king, make sure you're subscribed because there are so many more stories coming your way. Thank you for reading, my beautiful wolves. Until next time, stay fierce, stay brave, and never be afraid to challenge the ones in power. You never know, they might just fall in love with you. See you in the next story.